On his Android that.
Yeah, what? Oh, okay.
Drink some water. You're hot. This coffee is so good.
What kind of oh, you got the coffee that you brought?
Yeah, it said Brazil on it, so I had Brazil coffee beans.
Alright, we're live.
No, me, my.
Let's get it together.
I know he did.
But, okay, so the topic of today, excuse me, that's why I'm not on camera, is poetry dying? AKA ETC, hashtag is poetry dead? What do y'all think?
I feel like poetry will never be dead because it's words. You know, words has been here since centuries of times and has bonded a lot of us, you know, into things, and if it's religion or different aspects of life. So I feel like it never be dead. It might transform, but never be dead.
I agree. I believe that poetry is evolving more so with having social media now and being able to go to the poetry side of TikTok. You have poetry TikTok, and you can see those events or those masterful pieces, and how some people have even, you know, use technology to say their poems and form videos and such. Like it's going to get better over time more than anything, especially with the use of ChatGPT.
Yeah, ChatGPT is a monster. I use ChatGPT for a lot of different things. I just used it to make a clothing design. I don't have it here with me today. I think I sent it to you. I sent it to a bunch of people.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, ChatGPT did that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so with that ChatGPT, do you think there is a place where ChatGPT would destroy the poetry scene?
No, because based off of my use of ChatGPT with poems, it's hard to get it to really sound like you. Like, yes, you could get this masterful poem from ChatGPT, but when you read it, you're like, robotic, or I don't use these big of words. Like, I gotta Google the word that's in the poem. Like, no.
So you don't think ChatGPT tries to find maybe like your style?
I feel like that goes with the inner work within yourself, because when I started off doing poetry, I needed to be a space where I was alone in isolation to know who I was internally. So that brought out something physically that I need to have within myself. And then yes, it's cool to go into these spaces and learn from different people, but it's always cool to go back into your own isolation to understand where you fit into these, you know, shapes and forms. Yeah.
So you feel like the creativity of a human being will surpass ChatGPT generally?
Correct.
I mean, you probably have some people on the left, you might have some people on the right. It just depends on the person, you know?
So in my terms, some people are good at it, some people are not.
Exactly. But some people can do certain things with certain tools. So like, don't underestimate a person when it comes to certain things.
I like that.
I do too. Yeah.
For me, I like to think I'm a fair poet. I could write some decent poetry. My wife is over there smiling.
Because he writes very good poems.
Yeah, that's so good. I used to get upset. People call me a poet. You don't want to know why? It's because I'm more as an artist or icon, because I want to create. I'm a creator. Like, I create art. Right. So I feel like say I'm a poet, it's putting me in like in a box. Like, you know, I'm more than a poet.
So
like
you take the Kanye approach.
Yeah.
The artist formerly known.
Yes, I knock down walls of, you know. So yeah.
I like
sure.
it. Okay, cool. Two different perspectives. One is looking toward logical future side of the potential of poetry with technology, and one is looking at the aspect of human ingenuity. But all of that considered, what is the future of poetry in general? Do you think poetry becomes more robotic, or do you think that humans will evolve this art form or make it something different?
I feel like it depends on what world you're in, because I feel like the natural world is always going to be there, the authenticity, like, oh wow, like want to be, you know, they're live. Then you got those people who cannot reach out to do that because of their circumstances. So it just depends on the situation or who you're dealing with.
Based off of the experience I have where I'm in this Black Girls Write Too, a group with authors, not poets, sometimes people use ghostwriters, and that's all AI is a ghostwriter. So you can use it to help you figure out where you want to go. Like, I was writing a poem about holidays and how we don't celebrate holidays, and I was trying to have ChatGPT pull some stuff up, and I just really didn't like what it said because it didn't understand what I really where I was going. Like, no matter how I typed it in or how I regenerated it, I didn't like it. But then I had a poem that I was creating about the small people and how we're supposed to be in a recession, but yet people are paying thousands of dollars to go see celebrities perform, and how they have all this money, we're paying all this money, but yet we're in a recession. And it has some really good bits and pieces in it that I use, but I didn't like the whole thing. And I even regenerated it.
It's always going to give you the artificial truth, you know? And
no, it's just too deep. The words, the wording, the deepness, it was the way that it put it together. I liked it, but it didn't sound like me. It wasn't me. It wasn't something I would have said like that. And even when I said it out loud, I was like, nobody's gonna believe I wrote this based off of the other poems I've presented.
I don't know, like, poetry is supposed to be authentic. I think it's supposed to be natural. Like, when I, met so many poets that speak to my soul, and I'm like, if the soul is missing, it just words, like, to me.
I can see that.
Yeah, so like.
So you would be the anti-ghostwriter person, which is cool because there's a lot of people that feel like even in rap, you shouldn't have a ghostwriter. But
I'm not knocking it because, like I said, like, people got geniuses levels certain different ways, to the point they could probably make a masterpiece out of it if that's your niche. But I'm just saying, like, if I was to be in a different box than that person, yeah, I'd probably inside, yeah.
So here's a question for both of you. I was talking to Johnny the other day. He did a podcast with Johnny Dunn, and he brought up to me that Neo wrote, I can't remember what.
So many songs.
That Beyonce song? To the left?
Yes.
No, not to the left. Was it?
Put a ring or something. Yeah, Neo's.
I think it was to the left.
And when he said it was like, oh my goodness, it even sounds like Neo. So do you think that's wrong?
No, certain people can do certain things, like make match to your song. That's what I said. Like,
so you felt like that was okay for Beyonce because that kind of fit.
Yes, it kind of fit, and also, like, like I said, like, people can use different tools and make it magical in certain ways. So, but I don't know, like, poetry is kind of different, like, to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's just like poetry is like more truth telling. Like what our ancestors used to do, like in a circle, by the fire and talk. Yeah,
but that's what music is. Music is the same as poetry.
Yeah, it's true.
A song is poetry.
Exactly.
Without the beat, if you just say it and just the words.
But I don't know, something about just poetry gets to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably because I do it, so like I got this connection.
You brought up a good point earlier. Something along the lines of poetry comes from the truth, it comes from your experience, it comes from your reality. And before the podcast, before this episode, we kind of talked briefly about self-love.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to get you guys' relationship with poetry as far as the experience in your poetry, the self-love aspect of your poetry. Yeah, that's the question.
Okay, poetry, as I started doing poetry, it comes with self-love to me because I didn't know how to express myself through my circumstances or the situations I have been through. So doing poetry, it had me express myself, not outwardly, but internally.
Yeah.
And like it brings me to worlds that this physical body cannot go. And I was like, wow, I didn't know how my mind can have an imagination, you know, and how it can go so far to be a creator in this world. And it gets your mind to expand on different type of levels. So that's why I feel like self-love is so important, because if you don't have self, you can't have nothing centered around it. You know, you can't have like, you know, the love for others or different things, and to know when that negative or positive coming on that yin yang term of situations.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Markia, what do you think? And I've heard some of your poetry. Some of your poetry is very. You had a line in one of your poems, and I don't want to say it, but it was the line that you had about cleaning up. You know which line?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I paused like that, because you know, you just said how poetry is like self-love to you and getting everything out. And for me, poetry has been with me since I was a little girl. I've been writing poems ever since they make you write poems in English class. And you gotta be careful with poetry. I've learned, you know, I was saying it all, and people were getting offended, and so I took a step back from poetry for a second, because I was informed that what I was saying was like hurting people's feelings, even though it was my truth. And I'm like, but this is my truth. This is what I've been through. And so I was writing about pain, and I had to learn that I don't have to write about my pain, or that if I write about my pain, I also need to write about the good things, or maybe incorporate the good things in the pain. Like my last poem I just did at Whisper and Shout was about him, and about how he has brought me to the Most High, and how I used to smoke weed. I was heavy smoker, and how I stopped smoking, and I made it a fun type poem, and you know, everybody of course liked it, but a lot of my poems that I wrote last year were about pain, and all the pain that I was feeling, and all the pain from the past. And I don't know what poetry is for me yet.
I just think it depends on the spaces you put yourself in, because I did poetry through Chicago, through different places, and I learned certain places I should not go in, certain places I'm allowed to go in, and that's when spirit leads me to go into those certain spaces to like, because certain people are not going to get it, because it depends on the level of their mental, you know. So I say like, I'm gonna show who I am, because if I don't, I'm just letting parts of me die, and I can't allow that to happen until, you know, like you said, the Most High allows you to say, okay, you can let that go, you know. But I'm willing to like express myself, even if it make me uncomfortable or not, because it's gonna grow me. It's gonna evolve me to stay strong in my divinity. It's gonna make me stay strong and 10 toes down for myself. Like through the pain, I think pain is God's greatest gift, and that's what one of my poems.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and it's heavy. You know, that comes with self-love. Like, you know, I'm like, man, it's so much pain, but if you don't see the dark stuff, and you won't ever get to your light, and that's build character. So yeah,
I guess more so, I understand what you're saying, but it also goes back to when we were street teaching, and you asked that man, hey, do you bring down your people? And he said, no, we don't bring down our people. We don't do that out loud. And so that also helped me to understand that we as Black people think that like it's okay to speak on our pain, in the sense of letting people know what we've been through. but in reality, a lot of different cultures don't do that. They keep stuff
get what you're
inside
saying.
their family. They don't talk about that pain for real. Even when I was a pharmacy technician and I was working with the Indian lady, and she was listening to some of our music. She doesn't know our music, and she was like, what are they talking about? And I think it was like Destiny's Child, No Scrubs or something like that. And she was like,
I think that's
and I told her, like, what type of music, what are your songs about? What do y'all talk about? She was like, it's mostly,
Was that the Egyptian lady?
no, she was Indian.
Oh, she was
No,
Indian.
I get what you're saying. It's, I think if you act like a victim, because pain don't have to be as a victim mentality. It could be as power too. Because we as beings, we transmute everything into light. So I'm just saying, like, pain can be beautiful art. Like, some people best songs like that touch people to heal is, I think it's like, I get what you're saying though. Like, we shouldn't be like expressing ourselves like, oh, we should overcome and keep on cycle. We should overcome. We're not overcome. Where are we changing? So I get what you're saying on that point. But I still think you can turn pain into gold. It can be a beautiful masterpiece if you allow it to be.
It's a thin line. 'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes somebody else has to hear what you went through to potentially maybe not go through it too, you know?
Right.
So that's,
And I think both of you are making really good points because there is a cultural aspect sometimes we forget, but also describing, categorizing, communicating your struggle is not the same thing as, what did Future say? Pop Molly, pop perk, whatever that's called. That's not the same
Percocet,
thing.
Molly
Because he's
Percocet.
creating the culture of
Yeah,
put
victim
yourself in
mentality,
pain, right?
yeah.
Exactly.
So that's different. Yeah, but I like when you said that because that really got like spark. Like, wow, you really is telling the truth on that aspect. Because you know, some music like, oh my gosh, why y'all keep on doing it though? Like, y'all keep on. It's a trend. It's like, oh yeah, I heard this. I'm like, okay, but you didn't tell, like, how do you change it? How do you get through it? Like, you know, in your circumstances. So
yes. Yeah, like that.
Really good points. And with that, I think that wraps it up. This is a good episode, a good segment. I really like this. We'll definitely have to do it again.
for sure.